Every legend has an end. For over a decade, Ninjago fans have watched Kai, Jay, Cole, Zayn, Lloyd, Nia, and now newcomers Aaron and Sora grow through harrowing adventures and miraculous comebacks. But one question lurks in the back of every longtime fan's mind. How and when will each of these ninja ultimately meet their end? Today we're taking a serious, lore-focused look at each character's potential fate. We'll explore canonical brushes with death that foreshadow their destinies and then venture into speculation about how and when they might pass when their stories finally conclude. Don't worry, we'll clearly label what's official canon and what's thoughtful fan prediction. Prepare for an emotional journey through the lore as we honor each ninja's story and imagine the final chapter in their epic saga. Canon. Hot-headed and courageous, Kai has never shied away from danger. In fact, he's had a few near-death experiences. One vivid example comes from the Digital Overlord battle, where Kai almost fell to his death inside a digital realm. He leaped off Borg Tower as it collapsed in the Digiverse, only to be saved at the last second by Zayn. Kai has also felt the pain of loss. He delivered a heartfelt eulogy at Zayn's funeral after his sacrifice, a moment that underscored how real mortality is for the ninja team. Through all these trials, Kai's fiery determination burns bright, but the canon has shown us that even the Master of Fire isn't invincible. Speculation. So how might Kai's flame finally flicker out? Given his impulsive bravery and fierce loyalty, many believe Kai's death would come from a heroic sacrifice. Perhaps in a final battle to protect his sister Nia or his team, Kai could push himself beyond his limits. A fire that burns too hot in order to save the ones he loves. Thematically, Kai's element is fire, and fire can symbolize both life and destruction. We could imagine a scenario where Kai goes out in a blaze of glory, maybe forging a final golden weapon in the heat of battle, or holding off a great enemy in a burning temple so the others can escape. This would mirror his parents' selflessness and fulfill his role as the team's elder brother figure. In the end, Kai's last act might be one of selfless bravery, his flame finally extinguished only after ensuring the safety of those he considers family. Of course, this is just speculation, but it's a fate that would honor Kai's passionate spirit. Canon. Jay has always used humor to cope, but his journey has had its share of darkness and close calls. One of the most gut-wrenching canonical moments was in Skybound. Jay watched Nia die in his arms from poisonous venom, a tragedy he ultimately undid with his final wish, erasing those events. Even though time reset, Jay still carries the memory of that loss, showing how deeply he fears losing those he loves. He's also been the last ninja standing in dire situations, like facing Nadakon, and endured torture and despair when his friends were captured. While Jay himself hasn't officially died in canon, we've seen him pushed to the brink emotionally and physically. His lightning powers have shorted out under stress, and he's been willing to risk it all, as when he nearly sacrificed his own wishes to save Nia. These close brushes with disaster highlight Jay's hidden bravery beneath the jokes, and they foreshadow how far he'd go if things turned truly dire. Speculation. If fate catches up to the Master of Lightning, Jay's end might be tragically poetic. Consider how Nia became one with the sea to save him. In a future climax, Jay could very well give his life to save Nia or his friends, bringing his story full circle. Perhaps an enemy threatens Nia or the entire team, and Jay, who has always feared being alone, makes the ultimate choice to ensure he's the one lost instead of them. Thematically, lightning strikes suddenly and intensely. Jay's final act might come in a sudden flash of heroism. We could imagine him absorbing a massive electrical blast or overloading a villain's doomsday device with his own life force, a grin on his face even in sacrifice. Another angle. Jay is often the heart of the team. His death would hit the others hard, fulfilling the ominous feeling that his optimistic spirit has long kept something grim at bay. While we hope Jay lives happily ever after with Nia, if he were to die, it might be swift and selfless, proving that behind all the jokes, Jay Walker is a true hero to the very end. Canon. Cole has walked the line between life and death perhaps more than any other ninja. In Season 5, he was turned into a ghost, effectively losing his mortal body after a battle with Master Young. For a while, Cole existed in an undead state, a constant reminder of mortality. His deepest canon moment dealing with death came in the Day of the Departed special, where Cole nearly faded into the departed realm forever. He barely escaped being lost to the afterlife and was restored to human form, but not without a lasting scar. Tellingly, Cole himself notes that no one lives forever, a sober acceptance of mortality coming from the usually stalwart Earth ninja. Fans will also remember the Oni invasion, when Cole fell from the Destiny's bounty into the darkness below. For a heart-stopping moment, it looked like he might have died due to Nia's mistake. Though he survived, it was a chilling foreshadowing. All these experiences, being a ghost, nearly crossing over and acknowledging the finite nature of life, firmly established death as a shadow looming in Cole's story. Speculation. Given his history, many suspect that Cole's eventual death might be quiet yet profound, much like his dependable personality. One possible end for Cole could mirror the way he cheated death before. Imagine a final battle where Cole voluntarily becomes a ghost once more to stop an otherworldly threat, except this time he can't return. He might plunge into the departed realm to seal away a vengeful spirit, knowingly trading his life to save everyone. This scenario would be a poetic bookend, to his ghost saga, with Cole at peace knowing he saved his friends. Alternatively, as the Earth Ninja who is the team's foundation, Cole's death could be sacrificial and literal. Picture him holding up a collapsing cave or temple as the others escape, the weight of the world, quite literally, on his shoulders until it crushes him. Earth is sturdy and enduring, and perhaps Cole would be the last of the original team to fall, maybe even living to old age as the steady mentor before quietly passing like a stone worn down by time. No matter how, we expect Cole's final moments will reflect his core traits: strength, selflessness, and an understanding, long in the making, that even mountains eventually crumble. It would be an end no fan would forget, honoring Cole's legacy as the Rock of the Ninja canon. Zayn's death has already happened once, and it remains one of Ninjago's most powerful moments. In the climax of Rebooted, Zayn heroically sacrificed himself to defeat the Overlord, overloading his power to freeze the Golden Master from within. He perished in the explosion, and the ninja were left heartbroken, even holding a funeral for their fallen friend. This sacrifice was foreshadowed by Zayn's role as the logical, self-sacrificing one. Earlier in the series, he'd often put himself in harm's way for the greater good, but that finale proved it with devastating finality. Of course, technically, Zayn was revived. His consciousness lived on, and he was reborn in a new titanium body, meaning he cheated permanent death that time. Beyond that iconic moment, Zayn has brushed against death in other ways. He's a Nindroid who faces the risk of permanent shutdown or destruction, and he even experienced a sort of identity death when he was corrupted into the Ice Emperor, losing himself to evil for a time. Canon has repeatedly shown that Zayn is willing to lay down his life, and that death for him could come not just as a warrior, but as a machine reaching its limits. Speculation: how might the final end come for the Master of Ice? One likely scenario is Zayn choosing a last sacrifice, one with no coming back. Given that he's essentially immortal unless destroyed, Zayn might eventually decide to trade his endless life for the safety of those he loves. Perhaps in a distant future, a threat arises that only Zayn can stop by permanently shutting himself down along with it, much like he did with the Overlord, but this time ensuring no backup or reconstruction is possible. This could involve Zayn merging into a colossal computer virus, or AI villain, and then triggering a self-destruct, wiping out the enemy and himself in one stroke. Thematically, Zayn's element of ice symbolizes stillness and preservation. One could imagine his last act being freezing a world-ending force solid, knowing the act will also freeze his own circuitry beyond revival. Another angle is a peaceful conclusion. Zayn outliving his human friends, protecting Ninjago for generations until he's the last ninja remaining, and then choosing to die, perhaps by removing his power source, so he can join his brothers and sister in the next realm. It would be a poignant end. The Titanium Ninja, who gave Ninjago everything, finally finds rest. In any case, Zayn's eventual death would undoubtedly mirror his life of sacrifice and logic, a calculated act of love that ensures the future at the cost of himself, bringing the ice-cold hero's journey to a heartfelt close. Canon: as the prophesied Green Ninja and leader of the team, Lloyd Garmadon has faced destiny head-on and nearly lost his life more than once. Perhaps the most dramatic brush with death came during his showdown with his evil father in Sons of Garmadon. Lord Garmadon was resurrected and nearly killed Lloyd in a vicious battle, mercilessly beating his son and even stripping away Lloyd's powers. Lloyd survived, but only just, left broken and powerless, a clear sign that even the Chosen One isn't invulnerable. Earlier in Possession, Lloyd was possessed by Moro and almost drowned when the Cursed Realm was destroyed. He was saved, but that incident showed Lloyd teetering on the edge between life and death. He's also witnessed the sacrifice of others close to him, his father's self-sacrifice in the Cursed Realm, for example, and Zayn's death, experiences that have forced him to contemplate mortality. Throughout the series, Lloyd has carried the weight of the world, from the final battle with the Overlord to the recent struggle against the Crystal King. While canon has never outright killed Lloyd, it consistently puts him in the crosshairs of fate, reminding us that being the Green Ninja might mark him for an extraordinary end someday. Speculation: Lloyd's fate could go in a few directions, but each would be epic and meaningful. One possibility is that Lloyd fulfills the legacy of the first Spinjitzu master, his grandfather, by sacrificing himself in a final act that saves Ninjago for good. For instance, in a hypothetical endgame, the forces of Oni and Dragon, the two sides of Lloyd's heritage, could rage out of control, and only Lloyd, a hybrid of both lineages, can contain the catastrophe. Stopping such an apocalypse might require Lloyd to give up his own life force to seal away evil, much as the first Spinjitzu master vanished after creating Ninjago. This would be a bittersweet symmetry. The Green Ninja, who was destined to save the world, ultimately gives all of himself to do so. Another scenario is more peaceful yet equally profound. Lloyd, having brought lasting peace to Ninjago and trained a new generation of ninja, lives to be an old wise mentor, much like Master Wu. In this ending, we might see an elderly Lloyd passing away quietly in his sleep or during meditation at the monastery, with the murals of their adventures complete, a serene conclusion to a life of conflict. Emotionally, Lloyd's death, if it ever happens on screen, would be the end of an era. Whether it's a blaze of glory sacrifice or a gentle passing of the torch, it would signify the final chapter of the original saga. The Green Ninja's story has always been about destiny and balance, so his death would likely ensure the ultimate balance for Ninjago, cementing Lloyd's legacy as the legendary hero who gave everything for the realm he was born to protect. Canon. Nia has faced death head-on in canon twice. The first time was during Skybound, when she was poisoned by the Tiger Widow's venom and actually died in Jay's arms, only to be resurrected moments later when Jay's desperate final wish erased those events. Even though that timeline was undone, Nia and Jay carry the memory of that tragedy. The second, more permanent brush with death came in Seabound. In order to stop Wojira and Kalmar's assault on Ninjago City, Nia had to embrace her identity as the Master of Water fully. She merged with the Endless Sea, becoming one with the water itself to save everyone. This heroic self-sacrifice meant losing her human form, effectively a living death, as she could no longer live among her family and friends. Nia vanished into the ocean, a moment as heartbreaking as any death, with the team mourning her loss. She was later restored and crystallized by magical means, but that doesn't erase the fact that she crossed that threshold in Seabound. These canon events underline a clear theme in Nia's story: self-sacrifice and transformation. From Samurai X to Water Ninja, Nia has repeatedly put herself in harm's way for the greater good, even to the point of giving up her life for humanity. No other ninja has so explicitly died as Nia did when she became a water spirit, which foreshadows how her ultimate fate might play out. Speculation. Given Nia's history, one can imagine her final fate being as poetic as it is tragic. One likely scenario is that Nia will, in the end, return to the sea once more, permanently this time. Perhaps years down the line, a great threat, maybe another raging sea serpent or an elemental catastrophe, forces Nia to unleash her full power again. This time, she might knowingly choose to become one with the ocean forever, to calm the seas and save Ninjago, essentially ascending to the role of the ocean's eternal guardian, much like Niad before her. Such an end would be bittersweet. Nia would die from a mortal perspective, but live on as part of the natural world she loves. It also fits her character growth. Nia has always struggled between personal desires and destiny, and in the end, she might embrace destiny completely, albeit at the cost of her life with her loved ones. Another possibility is that Nia could fall in battle protecting one of her teammates, perhaps Jay, mirroring how he saved her in Skybound. But narratively, she already had a dramatic sacrificial moment, so a final death might not repeat the exact scenario. Instead, it could be quieter. Maybe an aged Nia, having lived a full life, possibly with Jay, finds her elemental powers pulling her back to the water in her final moments. Imagine an elderly Nia walking into the ocean one last time as her family watches, her body dissolving into shimmering water, at peace as she becomes part of the Endless Sea. It's a beautiful, if heart-wrenching image that would honor Nia's elemental legacy. No matter how it happens, Nia's end will surely carry the weight of her courage and love, the water that binds and heals, even as it takes her away. Canon. Eren is one of the next generation ninja, so his story is just beginning, but it's already marked by loss and danger. When the merge struck, Eren was a child who watched his parents and home realm disappear in an instant, leaving him utterly alone. Surviving that upheaval took courage and hope, which he found by idolizing the legendary ninja. By the time we meet Eren in Dragon's Rising, he's a self-taught spinjitzu prodigy, willing to risk his life to do what's right. In fact, his very first adventure has a brush with death. Eren boldly leaps in to save a baby dragon named Ryu from Imperium's forces, a move that could have easily gotten him killed. Through sheer determination and a bit of luck, he survives and earns Lloyd's mentorship by proving his heroism. Later on, Eren faces down villains like Empress Beatrix and even briefly loses his best friend Sora during a mission, showing him how devastating loss can be. While Eren hasn't nearly died in canon the way the older ninja have, the stakes around him are incredibly high, and his fearless attitude means he's likely to charge headlong into danger without hesitation. The lore hints that Eren's path, much like the original ninjas, won't be without sacrifice. Speculation. Predicting the death of a character so new is tricky, but if we project Eren's arc into the future, a few possibilities emerge. Eren is driven by the desire to live up to his heroes and to protect those he loves, so one could imagine him making the ultimate sacrifice to save the realm, essentially doing for the next generation what the original ninja did for him. For instance, if a cataclysmic event threatened to tear the merged realms apart again, Eren might volunteer to stay behind in a collapsing realm or portal to ensure everyone else escapes, flashing a thumbs up or a confident grin in his final moments. It would be a heartbreaking echo of the optimism that defines him. Another angle is Eren's personal stake. The merge took his family. Perhaps down the line he finds a way to reverse the merge or rescue those lost, but the catch is sacrificing himself to do it. In an endgame scenario, Eren could reunite with his long-lost parents through a rift, only by pushing them out and sealing himself in. This would complete his character circle, from an orphaned boy inspired by the ninja to a hero who saves not just his own loved ones but countless others at the cost of his own life. It's a very spirit of spinjitzu move: spin, leap, and never look back. Of course, given Eren's youth, it's also possible he lives on to lead the future team and dies peacefully after a long life of adventures. But if tragedy were to strike, Eren's end would likely be bravely self-inflicted, proving proving that he truly earned the title of ninja by putting the fate of others above himself. The final heroic chapter of the kid who dreamed of being a hero and became one. Canon. Sora is another fresh face in the Ninjago story, but her experiences so far have already danced with danger. Born in Imperium as Anna, Sora was a tech genius who fled her oppressive home when she saw the cruelty inflicted on dragons and felt unloved by her parents, essentially risking everything familiar for what she knew was right. That act of defiance could have been a death sentence if Imperium's regime had caught her, yet she escaped during the chaos of the merge and survived on her own. Upon teaming up with Eren, Sora discovers she is the elemental master of technology, a power that paints a target on her back. In Dragon's Rising, Sora has already endured some harrowing ordeals. At one point, the Imperium forces attempt to drain or suppress her tech powers, causing her great pain and nearly rendering her comatose until her friends intervene. She's also had to fight extremely dangerous foes, from mechanical dragons to wicked generals, often improvising with her inventions on the fly to survive. A particularly emotional canonical moment was when Sora momentarily lost Eren, who disappeared during a battle. She was heartbroken and driven to desperate action, showing how deeply she cares and how far she'd go, even if it meant risking herself to save her friend. While Sora hasn't died or had a classic near-death scene yet, her trajectory in the story places her in life-and-death struggles driven by both her heart and her unique tech abilities. Speculation. Looking ahead, Sora's potential end could be as dramatic as her introduction. One possible fate lies in the very thing that makes Sora special: technology. We might see Sora someday sacrifice herself in a high-tech showdown, perhaps plugging into a villainous machine or AI to shut it down, knowing it will overload her own life force or even digitize her out of existence. Imagine a final battle where a doomsday device is set to annihilate Ninjago. Sora, being the only one who can interface with it, uploads her consciousness into the system to disable it. The plan works, the device is stopped, but Sora cannot return to her body, essentially trapping herself in the machine or cyberspace. It would be a poignant end. The girl whose life was defined by technology gives herself to it to save her new family. Another scenario could tie back to her roots in Imperium. Sora might confront her former mentor, or even her parents in a climactic conflict, choosing to protect the innocent at the cost of her own life. For example, if Imperium faced destruction, say a reactor meltdown or dragon attack, Sora might stay behind to hold off the disaster, finally earning the respect and remorse of her parents as they realize her true worth, right as she's lost to them. Thematically, Sora's story is about forging your own identity and doing what's right, even when those who should love you do not. Her death could serve as the ultimate proof of her convictions. Of course, being young, Sora might also lead a long life of innovation and never face such a tragic end. But if she does, expect it to be inventive, selfless, and deeply emotional, reflecting the spark of ingenuity and compassion that defines Sora. It would be a heroic sacrifice written in code and courage, ensuring she's remembered as the one who saved the day with both her heart and her tech. Death is a heavy topic, but in a saga as epic as Ninjago, it's also a measure of a hero's legacy. Each ninja's potential end says something profound about who they are. Kai's burning sacrifice, Jay's lightning-quick heroism, Cole's steadfast duty, Zayn's cold logic turned love, Lloyd's destined triumph, Nia's flowing sacrifice, Eren's brave heart, and Sora's self-made heroism. These are the tales we've grown up with, and someday, far in the future, we hope, they might reach their final page. Canon gives us hints, and speculation lets us imagine fitting finales for our beloved characters. No matter when or how each ninja might pass, one thing is certain: their impact on Ninjago will live on. The love and lessons they've given us will never die. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive through Ninjago lore and possibilities. It's a testament to how much we care about these characters that we can even have this discussion. Longtime fans, let us know in the comments how you envision each ninja's final fate, or if you believe some should never fall at all, and may their legacies be everlasting, even if one day their lives are not.